So when I was 7 years old, the hottest fashion item of the moment was a wraparound skirt. And I asked my mother to buy me one, and she said no. Not because our family couldn't afford it, but because she had a different idea in mind. She drove me to the fabric store in my hometown, Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and I still remember walking through the door with her and her saying to me, "You can have anything you want. What do you want to make?" And I stopped while the understanding of what she was offering me sunk in. And I thought, does she mean that you can just make up whatever you want to wear and make it? Is that an option? As it turns out, it is. And so I wandered through the tables, this maze of color and texture, conjuring up the perfect pink wraparound skirt. Now, the reason this was such a pivotal moment for me was because in that moment, my universe totally changed regarding the choices that I could make. I was being given this opportunity to take something in my mind and create it. I could turn an idea into something I could hold with my two hands. To my 7-year-old self, this was miraculous. And I came to know what I now call the fire in my belly, my passion, my intuition. And I learned that I could quite literally make my reality with these two hands. I was empowered. I was free. I could wear whatever I wanted to because I could make it myself. I had discovered fashion sovereignty. Now, this aha moment unlocked the pathway, the system for how I would navigate my life. If you can conceive it, you can create it. Just follow your intuition. So what I want to talk about is what happened after the miraculous pink skirt moment and how the empowerment and intuition that unlocked in me became very powerful tools, and then what bridal gowns have to do with growing organic food. But we'll talk about that in a little while. So basically, I designed my way through junior high and high school. I was making clothes for myself and for my friends, and I want to say thank you, Mom. And I also want to say I'm sorry because I took to cutting up her clothes from the closet and from the attic and refashioning them into very cool clothes for a 1980s teenager. Cyndi Lauper had nothing on me. So I experimented and I practiced, and I even sold things that I'd made, prom dresses and costumes and all of this. And then I went to design school. And after I graduated from college, I had the opportunity to work with women who were getting married and design gowns for them. And I discovered another of my life's passions, working with brides. I couldn't have imagined a greater honor than being with a woman as she stepped into that sacred union and help her to express on the outside the beauty that I saw flowing through her on the inside. I loved it, and I decided that's what I was going to do with my life. So I employed what I had learned about creating my own reality, and I launched a business. And I worked tirelessly designing gowns and honing my business acumen. And at some point, the growing the business part took over. And I decided that I wanted to be successful as defined by the world of fashion. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to be famous. So in the years, I just got to stop because I just said that out loud in public. Whoa, okay. And that's the truth. That's what came. So I applied these tools that I'd learned about empowerment and intuition, and I did, in fact, reach the goal that I was going for in the world of bridal gown design. And I saw how using these tools helped me to create exactly what I wanted to get in my life. Beautiful homes, check. A closet Carrie Bradshaw would be proud of, check. A very well systemized vertical design and manufacturing operation, Check. Magazine covers. Check. My gowns displayed in the windows of Saks Fifth Avenue and Bergdorf Goodman. Check. I was experiencing a designer's dream coming true. And while I was doing this, I forgot to notice that what I was getting didn't nourish me. Countless hours designing and lots of angels helping along the way. A lot of missed birthday parties and missed baby showers and family reunions. And then the excitement and the exhilaration of bringing an idea into tangible reality and the sweet satisfaction of a happy bride gave way to that endless, unquenchable quest for validation outside myself. And I came to believe that I was only as good as my last mark of recognition from the fashion industry, or my next great fashion show, or my best sales exceeded. Gotta feel that one again. And so my happiness had become dependent on those things. And I became a parasite of my own success. Parasite with very nice shoes, but parasite nonetheless. So when I realized this, I felt tired and empty and like a stranger to myself. And the thought, the overwhelm of trying to unravel this web of my life was incapacitating. So I quit. Jumped off, just like that. I spent some time traveling, and what I came to discover was that the same tools, that led me to create and have everything that I had indeed wanted in my life also led to my demise. Like that shiny red pepper, plump and beautiful on the outside, but that was grown in soil with no nutrients, and so left devoid of the power to truly nourish. I was hungry. So I eventually ended up in a valley in Costa Rica. I got married. I had 2 beautiful boys. I learned how to grow food. I learned how to cook. I learned how to milk a goat, put it in my coffee. I went to birthday parties and baby showers and weddings. I learned how to speak Spanish, and I got to know my neighbors. And my husband and I built a house from materials that we found in the surrounding land. And while we built the house, until the bathroom was finished, I bathed in the river. And I set about to create a life that was sacred to me, one that I could make with my own hands, one that sustained me and sustained itself. And life was full. And then one day, I got a phone call offering me the opportunity to go back into the world of bridal gown design. And a part of me went, hang up, hang up, hang up! But the designer in me was elated at the idea of going back to my work. But I didn't want to compromise this amazing life that I had cultivated. So I wondered, could I go back to my work and do it in a way that was nourishing to me? Could I do it in a way that was in a service greater than worldly success? So one night I stayed up really late, and I was soul searching, diving, very fervent prayer for direction, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, in that twilight space of consciousness, I saw painted across the canvas of my imagination that I was going to found an organization that would teach people how to grow organic, nutrient-rich food for themselves. Now, I need to tell you, I am not a food growing expert. And at the time, I knew nothing about running a nonprofit organization. In fact, to a former capitalist, that was laughable, and I did laugh. But what I did know was that I was an expert at how to change your life completely and how to reverse the dependency on unsustainable ways of living. So I had my answer. That was a good reason to go back into business. So, Vida Auténtica was born. This organization has been established to inspire a radical return to earth-honoring, life-sustaining self-empowerment. I just like to say that out loud. Thanks. And so I was thinking of ways that the new business could support the new organization, and I heard this voice very loud in my ear say, 100%. Excuse me, it's my left ear. 100%. And then it dawned on me. If I went back into business and I gave 100% of my profits to this new organization, then the lure of money and fame lost its power. My talents and my energies would be used to help people learn to nourish themselves and the planet. Now that nourishes me. So that's exactly what I did. And for the next 2 years, I also discovered that if I listened to my deepest intuition, and I listened when little angels whispered crazy things in my ear, then I would come to know, if I kept saying yes, that I'm just this little piece of this divine plan that's unfolding. So go back to bridal gowns is exactly what I did. Started designing, and I set about, if I can make this work, putting together the programming and the structure for Vida Auténtica, and with the help of this angel, gardening goddess, is it there? Melina, who was the expert that I wasn't. Classes began, greenhouses began to be built, pure native seeds started being saved, and families started eating nutrient-rich food that they grew for themselves. And I watched as this aha moment that I've just been talking about occurred to all of the students as well. And they discovered these new freedoms. Let me back up. This is Anna. Anna grew her own leafy greens, and by eating 1 salad a day, the arthritis in her hands completely went away. Carmen and her husband Rafa started growing non-GMO organic corn and making their own corn tortillas, which you don't find on every corner, organic ones in Costa Rica. And last month, a food truck owner asked them to deliver 300 tortillas a week. That's something for them. This is Mayela. She started an organic egg business, and she was also eating the vegetables from her own organic garden, and this long-standing stomach pain almost completely disappeared, and she stopped taking medication. And so it's true, teach a man to fish, or teach him to grow his own organic food, or teach her how to make a pink skirt, and you give them the gift of their own life sustainment. So while I was doing all this work, some questions, I have them in my pocket so I wouldn't forget them, started arising for me. What would happen if people all over the globe started growing food that was truly nourishing to them and the planet? If a person knew they could feed their family well and optimize their health with their own hands, might they choose to work at a job that was nourishing to them? Would people become more generous because they grew more tomatoes than they could eat and offered them to the neighbors? Would there be less dependency on grocery stores and restaurants and governments and charities if people knew they had the keys to their own well-being in their own hands? What would happen if this fundamental need to put food on the table was lessened And that baseline fear of survival was answered. How would the world be different? And if parents left their children a legacy of empowerment rather than dependency, what would the world look like 50 years from now? Could these things be accomplished by learning to grow your own food? Here's some things to ponder when we ask those questions. The annual increase in herbicides required to deal with tougher to control weeds on cropland planted with genetically modified crops has grown from 1.5 million pounds in 1999 to about 90 million pounds in 2011. 2.3 million Americans live more than a mile away from a grocery store and don't have a vehicle. Access to healthy food is the #1 barrier to a healthy diet. Processed foods now account for 80% of global food sales, estimated at $4 trillion. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states that childhood obesity in the U.S. has more than doubled in children and tripled in adolescents in the last 30 years. Let me back up. So I know some of you are saying, I couldn't possibly grow food. I live in a 10th floor apartment with no balcony. Well, it's a window. And these are just a few of the creative ideas that are coming forth from people who have decided to make this radical return to this kind of self-empowerment. So I'm going to leave you with this. My wish is for everyone to know their power. To know that you're capable of changing your circumstances, your health, your level of connection to all of life. To have the courage to change one thing that would be more sustaining to you and to the earth. And to see how it feels. And then to take another step toward that radical return to life-sustaining, earth-honoring self-empowerment. If you can conceive it, you can create it. Just follow your intuition. Thanks.